Good day, everyone, and viewers on YouTube. My name is Krista, and I'm attached to the engineering department in the University of Trinidad and Tobago. My group, PL13, consists of myself, Trey, Carissa, Kimberly, Alexis, Vijay, and Stephen, and we'll be talking about a home gardening system that we've developed to help communities grow their own food and adopt a sustainable living in light of the recent food importation bill crisis. Our channel, The Home Garden Innovators, hope at the end of it all to provide you, our viewers, with the best information on how to get started. We're here to enlighten you on the various issues that have led to innovation and creativity of a home gardening system. Hopefully, at the end of this video, you'll be able to create your own home garden with tons of personal benefits and extra change in your pocket. So thank you for watching. I now hand you over to Trey Joseph.
Thank you, Krista. And as Krista mentioned, my name is Trey Joseph, and I'm here to talk about the purpose, the objectives, and the scope of the project. So, what is the purpose of this project? So, the purpose of this project basically is to plan, execute, and to introduce an efficient grow box garden system for superior residents of Trinidad and Tobago to curb the food importation bill. And how we went about in doing this? Basically, we aim to provide an alternative source of food to the members of our community due to the rising food importation bill. So the scope and the objective of this project basically was to create the various questionnaires that would be sent via the media to different members of the community. The data from the questionnaire would then be assessed, and a decision would be made on how we would go about in completing this project. We then implemented the decision and carried out the project by creating 7 home gardens. Observations were made on the crops, and finally the project was concluded by assessing whether or not the garden would save money and our foreign exchange. I will now pass you over.
There is a major issue impacting our food security in Trinidad and Tobago and a growing problem to us all. That is the intensifying demand for imported products, primarily food-related products, further aggravating the need to allocate budgetary resources towards the importation of food. This leads to another issue that we're presently facing, which is a shortage of US dollars to purchase said goods from international sources. The economic constraints owing to the COVID-19 pandemic is staring us into the need for change and development of various solutions to address food importation, more so the vegetable goods required by our nationals, which is a healthy requirement. However, it can no longer be sustained by importation. Statistics coming out from our secondary data show that the combined food import bill FIB for the 14 Caribbean community member states skyrocketed from US 2.08 billion in 2000 to US 4 billion in 2008. This was surpassed at US 4.25 billion mark in 2011, as stated by the Sub-Regional Office for the Caribbean in 2013. The statistics for CARICOM nations for imports versus exports is astonishing for this period. As we see here in the graph, between the year 1990 and 2011, there's been a steep increase for food imports, noticeably so from the year 2003 onwards. CARICOM intra-regional trade and total trade in agricultural products declined within a decade from 17.3% to 12.7%. It was stated that 5 countries still dominated imports beyond 2012. These were Jamaica, Barbados, Trinidad and Tobago, St. Lucia, and Guyana. Notice that Trinidad has not left this list for countries with high importations, and they dominate international and regional importation bills. Trinidad and Tobago spent over $2 billion in fruits and vegetables, stated by Trade Minister Paula Gopi-Schoon in her contribution of the appropriation bill. Key highlights Coming out of this were statistics for food imports valued at approximately 5.67 billion in 2019. There is a need for local food production and for local support by consumers to curb foreign exchange leakages. International trade is affected by the impact of COVID-19 and imports dropped 41% in 2020. Looking at statistics from Central Statistical Office from the Ministry of Planning and Development, we see for vegetables and fruits, there have been a significant increase of that importation between January and March. It noticeably declined in April to 56 million US dollars due to the COVID-19 pandemic. So what is the national impact of high food importation? The worsening and high importation bill puts pressure on an already stressed nation as COVID-19 pandemic presence has reached a one-year point of its impact. The pandemic has caused further increase in food prices and increased need for foreign exchange. This inflation will inevitably drive the need for social protection programs. Most of the imported goods are not only vegetables and fruits, but much of it are processed foods as they are cheaper and readily available for imports, which is linked to increased health problems, creating a greater demand for government expenditure on health. So now that we've looked at all the statistics and facts surrounding the food importation bill, we must develop a program to strategically allow citizens to invest in themselves and to lead to action the movement to grow one's own food. The government of Trinidad and Tobago must shift policies to replace food imports and enable local producers and citizens the necessary food or agricultural model that is easily attainable given economic constraints. I hope this clears up the reality of a food importation bill. I now pass you on to Kimberly, who will speak about the methodology of our solution.
The method of obtaining credible information for this GrowBox project was carried out using both primary and secondary data collection methods. With regards to the primary sources of information, observation and questionnaires were utilized. Members of the group visited various supermarkets and grocery stores in their area and had a look at the fresh produce section. There, we were able to have a first-hand view of the prices of the main vegetables that are imported to our country. A list was composed by each individual, which was further cross-referenced with the entire group during our meeting sessions. The second primary source was questionnaires. To obtain actual opinions and views of the Siparia residents, the group compiled a questionnaire and distributed it to 30 persons residing in Siparia. Relevant questions such as, are you pleased with the increased cost of imported vegetation? What imported crops are most purchased in your household? How many persons live in your household? And would you be willing to try new alternatives to help lower your expenditure for the month? Were asked. This questionnaire proved very successful in providing us with enough relevant information to move forward with our project undertaking. Based on the feedback we received, members were able to compose a full list of imported crops and also choose our gardening type, a grow box, to move forward with our project. The feedback received further led to obtaining our secondary source of information, research. Extensive research was done on the prices of these imported crops. Research was also done by each member on their crop type chosen for the project. The prices of the grow bags, soil, plants, pesticides, and fertilizers were obtained, and information was also obtained for the various conditions needed for each plant's growth. For example, sunlight, soil type, amount of water daily, pesticides, etc. When all the information was completely obtained, data analysis was carried out. Quantitative and qualitative data analysis was used on the feedback and information obtained and represented in the form of charts and paragraphs. With respect to quantitative data analysis, numerical values and percentages were obtained from the questionnaires and research and further represented in the form of pie charts, bar graphs, line charts, etc. In terms of qualitative data analysis, detailed paragraphs outlining the views of residents and follow-up research was assembled. Altogether, a full project was organized outlining the requirements needed for making and maintaining a home garden. I now hand you over to Krista Lackram, who will give you a detailed explanation on what actually is a home garden. Thank you for your time.
Hi, I'm back, and as you can see, I'm outdoors, and I'm sure you have a lot of questions like what is a home garden and what is the benefits associated with a home garden. So I'm here to answer all those questions. So let's get to it. Household garden is a small-scale production system supplying plant and animal consumption. Household gardens tend to be located close to dwelling for security, convenience, and special care. Home gardening involves growing fruit, vegetables, and herbs for personal consumption, as well as creating aesthetics and diversity for bird and insect life with attractive flower beds. Home gardening requires gardening knowledge, ongoing nurturing of plants, maintenance skills, and consistent improvement. As it turns out, the impulse to garden is actually a great idea whether or not you're coping with a crisis, because gardening is one of the healthiest hobbies you can develop and can create sustainability for you and your family. So, what are the many benefits of home gardening? Food security. Buying absolutely everything from the supermarket is bound to put you in a great position if, for some reason, you no longer have access to the supermarket food. With growing concerns for food importation and supplies as well as the pandemic, growing your own food is a great way to ensure food security for you and your family. And what could be better than eating a salad that came straight from your garden? Healthy eating habits. Home gardens can encourage the consumption of vegetables that is readily available and something you have invested in. You and your children will feel more inclined to eat vegetables if you grow them yourself. Home garden not only helps you eat more fresh fruits and vegetables, but you get to decide what kind of fertilizers and pesticides come in contact with your food. It also lets you control when to harvest your food. Vegetables that ripen in the garden have more nutrients than some store-bought vegetables that was picked early. Exercise. The Centers for Disease Control and Prevention says gardening is exercise. Activities like raking and cutting grass might fall under the category of light to moderate exercise, while shoveling, digging, and chopping wood might be considered vigorous exercise. Either way, working in a garden uses every muscle in your body. This fact won't surprise anyone who's woken up sore after a day of yard work. Mood booster and stress reliever. Studies in the United States and abroad have found that gardening improves your mood and increases your self-esteem. When people spend time in the garden, their anxiety levels drop and they feel less depressed. Working in a garden can help you recuperate if you've experienced something stressful. In 2011 study, researchers exposed study participants to stressful activity. Then they asked half the group to spend time quietly reading and the other half to spend time gardening. Guess what? When researchers tested the levels of stress hormone cortisol in the body, they found that the gardening group had recovered from the stress better than the reading group. The gardening group also reported that their moods had returned to positive state, while few of the readers had. For many, home gardening is a way of going green and provides the perfect opportunity to eat fresh, organic foods that won't cost you as much as the grocery stores produce. So I'm sure you're wondering how my garden is going. So let's have a look. So I've started off with kale and I've gotten so attached to the idea of gardening and I love it so much that I've actually started growing tomatoes and other vegetables. And as you can see, it's so convenient to just have on the walls of my house, and it's just so green, so beautiful, and it's just a perfect way to get outdoors.
Hi everyone, I am Carissa Silinan and I will be introducing and discussing the crops used in this grow back project. Statistics have shown that growing your own food locally is much cheaper than importing. Now, the crops that we have chosen for this project are some main contributors of Trinidad and Tobago's high food importation bill, which are tomatoes, bell peppers, kale, spinach, cauliflower, cabbage, and beetroots. We have decided on our first crop, which are beefsteak tomatoes. And these crops were chosen as they are huge compared to regular tomatoes, with very little pest control required. They are rich in vitamins A and C, as well as lycopene, which is an antioxidant that has health benefits. Here we have bell peppers, and we have decided to grow them since it is used in many dishes. Once they are properly cared for, they can bear fruit for a couple of years before it finally dies. Their nutrition value is exceptionally high as it contains protein, fiber, calcium, and almost all vitamins, including B6. Now we move on to the leafy green crops, which are kale and spinach. Benefits of this leafy green is that they mature quickly, taking less than a month from planting to harvest. In terms of nutrition, kale is high in vitamin A, phosphorus, potassium, and zinc. Spinach is high in vitamin A, C, and K. For the brassica crops, cauliflower and cabbage were chosen as they can be grown year-round, which means you can have a constant harvest throughout the year. Cabbage and cauliflower has an outstanding nutrient value and are especially high in vitamin C and K. Cauliflower is also rich in fiber and they contain almost all vitamins and minerals that the human body needs to function. Lastly, we have decided to grow beetroot crops. Unlike most root crops, they can grow and thrive in soil that most plants would not, such as clays. Beets are highly nutritious as they contain vitamins A and C, potassium, and manganese. An estimated cost of importing all of these vegetables that were mentioned, including shipping and taxes, gives us a total of 8.2 billion US dollars per year. This total gives us an insight of how high the food importation bill can escalate. I will now be handing you over to my colleague, Stephen Julian.
Pleasant good day to each and everyone. My name is Stephen Julian, and today I will be presenting the processes involved in the development of a home gardening system. Development of a home garden utilizing grow bags. These are short-term crops that was grown using this. We have kale, tomatoes, beet, cabbage, cauliflower, spinach, and sweet pepper. How to develop and maintain a home garden using grow bag designs. In developing a home garden using grow bag design, it is very simple because many areas in your home can be used to grow crops that is in everyday use, where you can place these bags and it will not affect your everyday life. Garden elements. Soil. Soil should be suitable for the crop that you choose to plant. The crop that you choose to plant should not exceed 4 to 6 weeks. The grow bags that you choose should not be of dark colors because dark colors are very attracted to sunlight, which could cause evaporation of water in your plant very fast. Shovel. Shovel is needed for mixing of soil, digging of hole to place the plant, and also to loosen the soil to allow water passage. Watering can is used to reduce the flow of water when watering the plant to avoid damaging the root, leaves, and flowers of the plant. Step 1. Combine a mixture of soil that is suitable for the crop you have decided to plant. Step 2. Fill the soil combination in a strong firm plastic bag. that is of suitable size to accumulate the roots of the plant. Step 3. Place plant in the center of the bag, covering the roots of the plant approximately 3 inches below the soil, or until the stem of the plant is covered. Step 4. Water the plant's root until it is moist. Step 5. Spot the plants in an area where it can be exposed to sunlight. Step 6. Ensure that the plants are not being exposed to any light during nighttime. No plant can tolerate continuous light exposure for 24 hours a day. Like nature's cycle of light and dark, plants also need a daily period of darkness and rest to maintain a healthy lifestyle. Water plants before sunrise and after sunset. Always remember when moving plants to do so cautiously. Thank you.
Good day everyone, my name is Vijay Ramsak and I'm here to enlighten you about plant nutrients. What exactly is plant nutrients? Plant nutrients are the chemical element and compounds necessary for plant growth. The 17 elements for plant growth are carbon, hydrogen, oxygen, nitrogen, phosphorus, potassium, sulfur, calcium, magnesium, boron, chlorine, copper, iron, manganese, molybdenum, nickel, and zinc. Plant nutrients fall into 3 categories, which are primary nutrients, second nutrients, and micronutrients. However, for these crops, we are only focusing on primary and secondary nutrients, which includes nitrogen, phosphorus, potassium, magnesium, calcium, and sulfur. Nitrogen help with the development of leaves. It is also vital because it is a major component of chlorophyll, the compound by which plants use sunlight energy to produce sugar from water and carbon dioxide, also known as photosynthesis. Phosphorus is found in every living plant cells. It is involved in several key plant functions, including energy transfer, photosynthesis, transformation of sugar and starch, nutrient movement within the plant, and transfer of genetic characteristics from one generation to the next. Potassium, which helps regulate the opening and closing of the stomata, which regulate the exchange of water vapor, oxygen, and carbon dioxide. Magnesium is required to give leaves their own green color. Calcium is critical to crop development. It is needed in large amount by all plants, from the formation of cell wall and cell membrane. It plays a vital role in soil structure. Sulfur plays an important role in the defense of plants against stress and pests. Sulfur provides protection of plants against oxidative stress and heavy metals. All 6 of these nutrients that are provided to the plants organically through manure, water, also provides phosphorus, potassium, magnesium, and calcium. Crop management can be done using 6 phases, which are observation, watering, pesticides, fertilizer, weeding, and harvesting. For observation, each crop was monitored daily, paying attention to moisture contents, sign of wilting, and presence of insects and pests. The beefsteak tomatoes could not hold their own weight, so it was supported using sticks. Watering. Proper water management is important for keeping plants healthy. Constantly watering soil contributes to soil-borne diseases such as seed decay, damping of root, and crown rot. In terms of how much water your garden needs, that really depends on many factors such as the plants, your location, and the type of soil you have. All of these are factors in how much you will need to water your crops. Pesticides should be the last defense available to home gardeners once all other disease prevention options have failed. Home gardeners have fewer fungicides or bacticides available to them compared to commercial growers, and these products may be less effective. Most types of vegetable can be grown most years in the home garden without the use of pesticides. Fertilizers. So you have composted, mulch, and manured your soil. Is it in top shape now? But as you have mentioned, even manure does not have the nutrient contents of a good fertilizer. So it may be good to consider using some, especially if you don't use manure. There are three major kinds of fertilizer, which are organic fertilizer. They just what they sound like. They made from natural material and have to be broken down naturally by microorganisms in your soil, resulting in a slow gradual release of nutrients. Water soluble fertilizers are mixed with water and sprayed onto soil and plants as a liquid, rapidly feeding nutrients to the plants. Synthetic fertilizer are nutrient-rich chemical compounds that attempt to emulate the effect of organic fertilizer on a more rapid and more nutrient-rich basis. Plants get food from the ground, sunlight, air, and water. For best growth, plants often need more food than is in the soil. Especially after the first crop, they will need another source of food from fertilizer or compost. Weed control can be another source of disease and insects. For example, some weed can serve as reservoirs for several insect transmitted viruses that can infect homegrown vegetables. Harvesting. This is the time you have been waiting for. All throughout the process, you have weeded, watered, you have nurtured, and fertilized. Now these crops are full and it's harvest time. Here are some tips for harvest time to help you make the most of your home garden. First of all, don't harvest all in one day. This ensures that you get a constant supply of fresh ripe veggies, and it encourages production in the plant, since it isn't wasting energy and nutrients on a vegetable that's already ripe anymore. Always harvest fruits and vegetables when they are ripe. Do not allow overripening or rotting. Overripe fruits and vegetables can become breeding place for pests. Examples: fruit flies. Do not allow the rotten or bad product on the ground again. This will create breeding place for pests. For leafy vegetables, most leafy greens take very little time to mature, and can be eaten at almost any stages of their development. They can be harvested whenever there is enough of the crop to make it worthwhile picking. Most greens are cooled season veggies that are planted in the spring from a early summer harvest. Some of these, like spinach, can be planted again late in the summer for a fall harvest as well. Kale can be picked even later. Imagine picking fresh leafy greens until the first hard frost. For root vegetables like onion, carrots, potato, and beetroot, loosen the soil around them with a garden fork before pulling. You don't want to damage the veggies by trying to pull them through solid soil.
Good day, everyone. My name is Alexis Adjodison, and I will be discussing the progress of each of the crops thus far for this home gardening project. First up, we have kale, which has a relatively fast growing rate and can be harvested in less than 2 months. As seen in the image, we can see how much this plant has grown in the past 3 weeks, to the point where some leaves can be harvested. Next, we have cabbage, which is a relative to kale. However, cabbage takes a much longer time to harvest than kale, 20 weeks to be exact, but we can still see a considerable growth difference from week 1 to week 3. Continuing with cruciferous veggies, here is a cauliflower we planted. As you can see, it is slow growing as cauliflower takes about 75 to 85 days from seed to harvest, but is growing well and healthy. The spinach we planted is also fast growing short crop as is seen in the images. Spinach are quick growing leafy vegetables which only take 6 weeks from seed to harvest, and the crop you see before you will be ready for harvest in about 3 more weeks time. Crops which grew quite quickly. From the image we can see from week 1 to week 3 the pepper plant grew much taller with more leaves, and to the point the plant started flowering. In a few more weeks time we can expect to get the first set of peppers. The beefsteak tomatoes, however, had the greatest growth out of all the 7 crops we planted, as we can tell from the huge growth difference in the picture below. It took only 3 weeks for the tomato trees to start bearing their first fruit. The final crop I have to present is the beet, which is a short-term crop that takes about 7 to 8 weeks from seed to harvest. The crop has been growing quite healthy and fast, as you can see. In conclusion, there has been a significant progress thus far from each crop. Thank you, and I will now pass you back to Krista.
So to conclude this video, it is said that persons who have a home garden are more in touch with nature and are able to focus on healthy eating habits than those who do not. I strongly agree with this statement. In fact, I cannot wait to get into the garden right now. If you're thinking about starting your home garden, I hope this video was helpful and you've learned everything you need to know to get started. Leave a comment down below, let us know if it was helpful and your thoughts. Don't forget to like and subscribe. We appreciate all your support. Good luck and happy gardening. That's it from us.